In this How I Studied, I'm going to take a look at understanding how to do int parse, double parse, just different parses in general. Again, there's a certain repetition to all this, right? It's like if I can figure out how to do one kind of parse, I should be able to do other kinds of parses. So that's why I have this overall goal in mind. They're not completely separate from one another, and it makes the concept a lot smaller when you don't think you have to learn 8 different things. You just have to be comfortable doing it once and knowing that you can probably do it again in the same way. So here are my goals. I need to understand how to use a parse string, or how to parse a string. So with the material we have access to, I know that parsing means that I'm going to take a string and try to convert it into another type. Well, what does that look like? Well, using int as an example, I know it looks like the type that I'm turning it into, so it's going to be int dot and then uppercase P parse and then parentheses. And this is what it looks like. Now I need to figure out what's going on with it. Well, to get started, I know how to declare a string right now. So I'm going to say string, and I'm just going to call it string num, and I'll say the number 5. All right, I have my string right now. I'm ready to go. But I know I need to make it so that num5. So I'm actually going to call this string 5, keep it consistent, num5. And if I do it properly, this should be turning it into this. I'm hoping it doesn't yell, but, well, alright. I guess there's something I need to do in between. That's probably that parsing. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So int.parse. I know I need to go turn it into an int. And I know parse takes a string to convert. Right? I know it takes a string. I have a string variable right here. So what I'm going to try to do is use these together. Well, starting out, what am I going to try? I can try doing int.parse like this. It doesn't like that. It doesn't know what's going on. Things are yelling at me. It's expecting another one of these. I don't know why. No overload, takes only one. So we got a couple different errors. And we have to keep this in mind, that we're going to be passing a string in here, so something needs to go into here, no matter what. That's what this error is saying. No overload method for parse takes 0 arguments. That arguments is how many things are going inside the parentheses. It's saying there's nothing, no version of this that will take nothing, so I have to put something inside of it. That's our first error. So our second error says, oh, these are 2 different things you're trying to say. That's what the semicolon expected is saying. I expected, these are 2 different statements. This is like a run-on sentence. So this isn't how it works. How this works is I'm going to cut my string, get rid of that second error, and I'm going to paste it in here. Voila. It has stopped yelling at us. Your first step is always make sure to get your syntax to stop yelling at you, because your computer is going to do most of the work for you on that stuff. All right, well, it stopped yelling at us. Let's test this out. I'm going to do the same way I've always been doing. I'm going to do a console write line. Let's see what happens when I do string 5 plus num5. Any guesses? Well, I know one's a string, and I'm hoping the next one's a number. We'll see what happens. 55. What's happened? Well, if you remember, when you add 2 strings together, you do what's known as concatenating. That is just combining 2 strings into one long string. And the thing is that when you have a string and you're adding a number to it, it actually turns that number into a string just for this circumstance. So it's technically still combining 2 strings. This isn't the result I wanted. I don't know if I've actually done anything. I just know my computer's not yelling at me. But what if I took this number 5 and I just added number 5? So if I'm just adding basically 5 plus 5, right? So if I do this right, if this is properly an int right now, and I'm adding, and it's converted this into 5, then this should add 5 plus 5. My expected result, 10. Boom, 10. Perfect. So it works like how I expected it to, and I'm feeling pretty good about this. I've now gone ahead, I've created an int, I've named it, and then I'm using this method. This is the thing I'm practicing right now. I'm using int.parse, and I'm passing in a string with a number 5. And I've been able to add it together. I know it's officially an int. I've been able to do math. That's fantastic. So, but what happens if I pass in something else here? What if I were to pass in 5 as a word? What happens? Oh, it was not happy with me. What is it saying? Input string was not in a correct format. That's important to know. That's because this parse is trying to turn your string into a number. So it would look at 5, it would recognize it as the number 5, and it will turn it into a 5. But this is not the number 5, it is the word 5, and it has failed, so it would throw an error. In fact, in our program, if we were running an application right now, it would actually crash. You've seen apps crash before, you get a little error message. This is the error message we would get. So this is what happens if we try to parse something that isn't a number. That's good to know. So here I'm going to turn this back into string 5. And let's get a little bit more of that repetition down. I know this is working. I know this is working for our int. Will it work for our double? I'm going to go ahead here and do string 5.5, right? 5.5. Double 5.55. And then I'm going to go ahead here and I'm just moving some variables around. Nothing very fancy. I'm just passing this into our int parse now. And I'm now going to add this twice. Double 5.5. And so if this is going to work properly, I should expect the number 11. Let's see what happens. Ooh, still got our number input error. Input string was not in the correct format. Line -1. Ooh. That is fascinating. You know what that is? That's because this is a double. Did you see where I messed up? I didn't change this to a double. This needs to be a double, right? Ints don't take decimal places. So I've changed that to double. But what's important to know is it's not just here. This is telling us, telling the computer what to try to turn it into. So that's going to be a double also. So let's try running it. We got 11. That's perfect. Twice we have now parsed our code. We've gone ahead and I've done this with an int. I've done this with a double. Things are looking good. I'm going to do this again really quickly with bool. Does bool have one? Let's test it out. String truth equals true. Bool real truth equals bool dot parse. Oh, look at, there is one. I do this a lot. If I see something is like reoccurring someplace, I'm going to see if something else has it. So here, all these types have parses. Just test it out. This is true. So I'm going to pass truth into here. And now I just want to see, is this working? Console. There we go. And then real truth. I just want to see it. Real truth. All right, well, how am I going to test this one out? This is weird. That's because with a Boolean, I know that if I were to do an exclamation point in front of it, it actually flips whatever the true or false is. So if real truth is true, it would flip it to false. And vice versa. If it was false, it would flip it to true. So if this was just a string, it's just going to show true. Nothing's going to change. But if this is a Boolean, then this should actually show false. Let's test it out. False. Perfect. All right, I'm feeling pretty good here. I'm parsing everything. But now the real test is going to be using this when it comes down to getting input from the user, right? I want them to be able to enter a number and then be able to display it. So I'm going to quickly show here, get parse user input. All right, so first I need to ask the user for something, right? Enter a value, enter a first value. And I'm just going to quickly copy and paste this. Enter a second value. All right. So now I'm asking the question. Now I want to save it. So I'm going to stick with int. Keeps it nice and simple. I know how it works. I'm going to do int first value equals, and how did this work? I just did int parse, right? Well, I'm going to try doing that. Int dot parse. What am I going to parse? Well, I'm going to do this. String first value string equals console dot read line. All right. Getting that, and I'm going to pass this into this. Oop. Did not like that. There we go. Stop yelling at me. Yeah, that'll go away. So first things first, I want to make sure it doesn't crash when I pass in a number, or it does crash when I pass in the wrong number. Let's find out. Console.write line. And then we're just going to pass in first value. And let's try this out. So if I type in the number 345, we're going to run this, enter first value, 345, enter. It just prints out 345. That's fine. That's perfect. That's what I wanted. So, but now how do I know it's actually parsing? Well, let's put in not a number. Ooh, what's happening? This is actually crashing. It doesn't know what to do, it's just crashing. That's fine. So you're gonna get a different result when you're using Visual Studio, but because it didn't show us a word, this is fine. So now I want to go ahead, if I'm parsing here, let's try this here. So I'm going to copy this code. I'm going to say second value string, second value, pass this into here, and then I'm going to add the two, plus second value. First value is going to be 3. See? It's asking again. Second value is going to be 6. Boom. It did math. This is perfect. I have now officially taken an input from a user and parsed it. This is what I was hoping to do. But there's a lot of text going on. This is kind of ugly, and there are things I'm observing right now. It's like, all right, I know this is getting me a string. That's fine. And I'm saving it to a string, and that's fine. But I wonder, can I cut this out? Do I need to have this other line? Can I just take this and paste it in here and have it work the same? Let's find out. First value 4. Second value, it seems to still be asking, even though I've changed some of my code. 789. Still works. 793. That's perfect. So I now know that because this is going to return a string, the computer still looks at it like a string. It's not yelling at us. I'm able to pass it in to my int.parse. And the way code works is that it reads kind of from the inside out. So it will see, all right, you're trying to assign a value. Cool. So then it comes over here and tries to do this first. Then it looks in here, it goes, all right, you're trying to parse. All right, it comes in here. Oh, you have another method you're trying to call. We're going to do this first, because we can only operate after we do this first, and then we'll do this, and then we'll assign it. That's how the computer's thinking. So in the future, what you're going to see a lot is just someone doing something like this and having it work just fine. I can now parse. I can parse my own values, and I can parse the user's values. Today's feeling pretty good. And that's how we parse.